So on the Vampire Diaries, there is a thin line between good and evil. Like, it's a show about vampires. They kill to live. And you had many cases where people switch sides multiple times. Damon came on the scene as a villain. But then they started his love story with Elena, and then he became the vampire with the heart of gold. So much so that many of his enemies became his best friends. Then there was Stefan, the original vampire with the heart of gold, who used to drink the blood of bunnies because he was too good to drink human blood. Then you find out he really does it because he's a psycho killer, and once he pops, he can't stop. When Elena became a vampire, she went from girl next door to bitch on steroids. Then there were the non-vampire friends who were there to tell you that no matter how nice Damon and Stefan seemed, they were still killers. You know, Matt, Bonnie, Bonnie's grandmother. Then there was Klaus, a vampire so scary he was like the boogeyman of other vampires. How he came to be so popular puzzles me. He was the absolute worst. I hated everything about him, which made him a good villain, but a bad long-term character. Because when you have someone so diabolical and you just can't trust them, you're gonna kill them after a while. They tried to make him relatable by having him be infatuated with Caroline, or having a complicated relationship with his stepfather, whose whole purpose in life was to kill him and his siblings. They even made the originals unkillable by showing that if one of them dies, then everyone they turn into a vampire, and so on down the line, dies as well. Since none of the vampires could trace back their vampire lineage, they had to keep them all alive. And outside of Elijah, all of the originals were unbearable. Like Rebecca was so annoying. She felt like she deserved the cure to being a vampire because she had been a vampire for so long. Girl, you've been alive for 1,000 years. Just die already. Besides, if she took the cure, would all of the vampires in her downline die? So when I heard the originals were getting their own spinoff, I was so happy. It meant they would all leave the Vampire Diaries for good. And once they were gone, I never watched a single episode of the originals. I could just act like they were dead and gone and out of my life. Of course, when Elena would leave the show later, the writers felt the need to keep her just as entwined with the storylines on the show as if she was still there. They really should have just killed her off and put Damon with Bonnie. But that is a rant for another day. Every season would bring a new villain. But luckily, they did not last for longer than a season, because you can only take so much shit from one person. I used to watch soap operas, and every soap opera had a supervillain. I used to hate it because this one person would stir up so much shit for years, and they wouldn't go to jail or get killed. It felt so unrealistic. I preferred Murder, She Wrote, where the universal a-hole would get killed 15 minutes into the show. Another show that had people switching sides often was The OC, but generally it was just the villains being redeemed. There was the third season where Sandy became evil, but outside of that, people just generally went from being enemies to best friends of the main character. Because again, you can only have one person being evil for so long. And redemption allows you to keep a character with an interesting background. So with the originals, the show, the writers were able to keep their annoying little fan favorites, and I was given the relief of being without them. Did you like the originals? Or were you happy like me when they left the Vampire Diaries for good? Let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know if there is a topic you would like to see me talk about. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell to know the next time I upload or go live.